Hi, I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to Across the Park podcast.
Welcome to Across the Park podcast, the only place you can hear banter and debate from both sides of Stanley Park, whether it be blue or red. Sponsored by Their Clothing, Camper Kings UK, and affiliation with BetMate. And welcome to episode 21 of season 21-22 of Across the Park podcast. Thank you if you're listening to us on your favourite podcast app, and thank you if you're watching on YouTube. If you are on the latter, please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Judges did say last week that we've got over 1,000 subscribers, so the plan is that we're all going to catch up and think of a plan to bring you some more content, but the more subscribers we get, the more content that we can bring. Myself, Ian Mills, and Andrew Price are the Blues this week. Phil Roberts and Terry McGiven are the Reds. It is officially 2022 because the FA Cup has started. The FA Cup third round is always the start of a new year for me. Myself and Price are going to be talking about Everton's victory against Hull. Phil and Terry are going to be talking about Liverpool's victory against Shrewsbury, including some social media questions as well. A big thank you to our sponsors, Their Clothing, as you heard in the intro there, theirclothing.com. Get over there and put ATP20 in the checkout, and it'll give you 20% off, believe it or not. Magic that, isn't it? Also, big thank you to Camper Kings with an amazing fleet of camper vans. You can camper van all year long, whether it be winter or summer. Get over to camperkings.co.uk. You also get a free bottle of bubbly, which is right up my street. Free insurance, which will right up Phil's if you quote Across the Park podcast. Pricey, before we do get into the game on Saturday, which was Everton beating Hull, it now looks like Digne is on the verge of leaving the club. There's reports today that Aston Villa are very, very close to concluding a deal for him. It looks like it's going to be money. The figure banded around is 25 million. What are your thoughts on the whole thing, really? I mean, we knew going into this month, didn't we, that he was going to leave, but are you surprised at the figure? Are you surprised at the club? Are you still disappointed? Are you quite happy with it?
Surprised by the club a little bit that it's Aston Villa. I was expecting Chelsea, to be honest, especially with Chilwell being injured. I thought it would have been a good fit for him going there, but then again, that would have probably been a loan for the end of the month, which is something we definitely didn't want. I think the important part for Everton is that we got some money for him and that it's money that's being reinvested. It looks like we reinvested it before we made it, if that makes sense, by signing Mikalenko. So yeah, I'm glad we've got money, but the club was a bit of a surprise. He's a good player, look at Digne. I mean, he hasn't been, setting the world alight for us this season, probably the second half of last season either, but not many players have. But he's a good player. I think going to Aston Villa, I think he could probably do better than going to Aston Villa. I know Villa are building up a decent squad there, and obviously got the young manager in who's doing well and stuff like that. But I do think Aston Villa, it's not a step up for him, is it? So I think from his point of view, he was probably, maybe not, but he's probably expecting bigger clubs to come in for him and thinking that he could go into maybe at least the UEFA Cup, because obviously he's got no cup tied for UEFA Cup or for Champions League. So he was thinking that he could get into a squad of Champions League. As far as I know, you can put another squad in at the end of January, as far as I know. So he was probably thinking he could get into a Champions League team, whether it's in England or whether it's in France, Spain, wherever. So the fact it was Aston Villa or Newcastle by the sounds of it just sort of sums it up as well a little bit. What about you? I mean, money for us. Money's the main thing for Everton. I think we needed the money, and 25 million. I would have said I would expect around 30 million for him. 25, I don't think is far off what he's worth. And as I say, as long as we're reinvesting it, which it looks like we have done anyway, then I don't think you can complain, can you?
No, I mean, we've got a question later on social media, which is about the press conference last week. I don't think Everton played their best hands in relation to getting the best value for Digne by the way it's been so public. And maybe that's not all on the club and all on the manager. It takes two to tango, but the fact it's been drawn out so publicly has probably given leverage to the buying club. Now, some fans may say 25 million is probably the right amount of money for a 29-year-old fullback who's been out of form for a year. I think he's better than 25 million. I think he's better than Aston Villa. I might be proven wrong in that. He might go to Aston Villa, and we might be talking about this in 6 months' time or 12 months' time on a week in history, saying, wow, what a deal we got because he's failed there. I'm not so sure. I've seen the real Luca Digne, I think, for 2.5 years, and for last year, I think he has been out of form, which has been a shame. I think you're spotting and saying it was important that we got money in, as I hated to see us loan him out. But for me, I think it's sad that we're losing Luca Digne, and it's sad that we're losing him to someone who some Evertonians might not like me saying. It's probably a direct rival for us.
Yeah, that's the issue, is the direct rival. But I think it's a big job, the Everton job, and we've got to regenerate the squad. We've got to pick the people who are assets to us that we can bring in money for. As you say, he's 29. It looks like hopefully we're trying to change the way we do things in terms of the two youngsters we've brought in. We need to get rid of the older players. I know he's not old in terms of over 30, but if you can replace him for somebody who's younger with potential, and make a couple of million on top of that, and that's the way Everton are going to be going. I think he's the first of many. I think in the summer you'll see a couple more going as well, because there might have been an argument. It might have been Luca Digne's fault. It might have been Benitez's fault. We don't know, do we? But
no.
Benitez would have looked at that as soon as there was an issue. He would have looked at it and thought, Luca Digne's an asset there. He's someone I can make money on, and I can reinvest into the squad to bring through younger. It's what we need, whether you like Luca Digne or not, whether you think he's the right person to go or not. This is what we need. We need to get rid of those players who've been there, who haven't been performing for the last year or so, as you say, and trying to bring in potential and players who eventually we can maybe sell on for a little bit more, which at the moment, that's where Everton are.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. Reds, have you got anything to add? Are you quite surprised by Digne to Aston Villa, or are you quite smug because we once said he was better than Andy Robertson?
I think, I think the rival thing is the biggest thing for me. It's like, I would despise us. I'd be fuming if we sold one of our better players to a rival. Anyone competing for the same things that we're competing for is what I consider an immediate rival. And I would say Everton and Aston Villa are both ideally trying to compete for the outside European places. So I think what's funny about it is, though, he's going to be registered in time to play Everton in about 10 days to 2 weeks. We all know what's going to happen there.
We do, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of in agreement with Phil, really, and I do find it interesting that, like, you're sort of in a way happy that you got around 25 million for him, though, because he is. I know he's had a bad season or so, he's been out of form, but you could say he's proven Premiership quality, and shy of last season, you would have been talking about top 4 teams, maybe looking at him, or even as you say, like some of the better Champions League teams, and I think at that point you would have been saying 25 million. You'd have been laughing your head off, saying no chance. So it does feel like it's been a pretty precipitous drop, in terms of like his valuation, and whether that's because of his sort of demeanour and the way that he's been carrying himself around the club and his form as well. But to sell him to a direct rival and to probably only get him, maybe if we're being fair, probably half of what you would have expected 12 months ago. Whilst it does free up some funds for you to go and sign, and you've gone and bought, what's his name, Malenko, is it? Luca Digne was proven Premiership quality, and he's just had a bad season, which he's not the only one, is he? So
at the same time, no, it's not going to work under Rafa Benitez, is it? And
that's
Benitez probably isn't going, so you've got to do what you've got to do.
The issue we've got is that we've sort of killed ourselves a little bit, as Millsy alluded to before. We've killed it. Everyone knows we're getting rid of him. We couldn't have held on for another 6 months and tried to sell him in the summer, so we have to sort of take what's available. And 25 million is what's being offered. If that's all that we've got for him, do we take it or do we drag it out? And I think once that decision was made, it's just about them recouping as much as we can. And it's a shame he's going, but I mean, as I say, I think the squad needs overturning, so I'm all right with it.
No, I mean, I'm on our socials, Pricey, as you know, and I don't think you're the only one saying that. There's a bit of a split at the fan base at the minute, and a lot of saying what Pricey's saying, and some are saying what I'm saying, which is the best thing about these podcasts. Let's move on, Pricey, quickly. We want to talk about the FA Cup victory against Hull at the weekends. Disastrous start, but for me, it was a weird game because there were times we played really, really well. Probably the best we've played in a number of months probably, but Hull were always in the game, weren't they? Right up until Begovic's save late on. It was just a strange one for me. What did you make of it?
I we started poorly. Obviously, giving the goal away in the first minute is a killer anyway. But then all the nerves that go with that, the pressure that go with that, the fact that you're playing a championship team, it sort of adds it. And we were awful for the first 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. Yeah. We were really bad. Once we got into the game, we sort of got a grip of it. We were all right. I don't think we had. You say Hull had a couple of chances, but we had two nailed-on penalties for the handballs. We hit the post, and Gordon could have scored in the second half of the shot. Gray had a few chances. So I think we had a good go of the game. I think we deserved, or could, if it would have come back away 2-4-1, I don't think you would have argued with it for us. I think we just didn't take those chances. And it's hard playing you can say it's a championship team, but it's the FA Cup. I mean, Arsenal have proven it yesterday, getting beat by Forest. It's hard going to those grounds with the teams and everyone's up for it against you. So I think I'm happy that we came away with a win. Yeah, it weren't the best performance to start with, but I didn't ever feel like we weren't in control of the game. I think they got a goal on against the run of play, to be honest. So I don't know. I thought we were all right. I thought, save for the first 50. I mean, I don't understand the three at the back. If we're going to go into formations, I don't get why he's playing three at the back. There's no need for it. There's no need. The two midfielders are getting overrun, and we're playing. All we're able to play through us in the same way Brighton did. So I don't get the formation why he's starting with that. But as a performance, I don't think it was horrendous. I mean, I don't think it was brilliant, but I think we were comfortable. Well, you have the opposite view, don't you? You were fuming, weren't you?
No, I was fuming at the start, and I was like I said, it was a weird game because there were times I think Anthony Gordon and Damari Gray were fantastic. I think the football Lee played linking up together was great, and there were times that we probably should have scored more goals. The worry for me is that we didn't. You've got the same striker up front who we've spoke about since September now, and I was hoping that would be his level on Saturday. I think in our WhatsApp group, I don't know who it was, someone said maybe he'll get something from him tonight because he's playing against the championship team. That's not helping us at all. The longer he plays games for us is not helping the team. It's not helping the divides amongst the fans. He is the beacon of negativity at the minute, rightly or wrongly. So I don't think he helps. I was just really.
The only thing I'll say about him is he wasn't brought in to play, was he? I bet you Rafa Benitez didn't expect for 1 minute that he'd be playing as many games he's playing. He's third choice, isn't he?
But do you not think he was brought in to play games like this? If we had a fully fit team, he probably would have played.
Like that, maybe, yeah. But we're frustrated with him. If he would have come in for yesterday's game and had that performance, we would have said he'd done all right. It's the fact that he's played poor for leading up to that, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's a large part of my frustration because you're right in what you're saying. We could have been 4 or 5 up at some point, but we're not because we've got not only some of the wrong players out there, but the wrong formation, I think. I think the fact that we had 5 at the back with Andre Gomez as the deep line of midfielder meant that we couldn't kill the game, and we should have went and killed the game. You're going into extra time, but let's make no mistake about it. It's a mistake from their goalkeeper that gave us, the goal, really. He was wrong-footed and he should have saved it, but you could be going into penalties there in a game you should be seeing out. So, of course, I'm happy that Everton are in the fourth round of the FA Cup. I want to be on Wembley Way with you, taking selfies and made with the kids. I won all that. But I'm not overly positive about how it's happened. I don't think Everton were very good overall on Saturday. Yes, there were patches of it. There was times that we played good football and we should have scored more goals. But we're set up so wrong that we're not seeing these games out. It's caught us up before and it'll catch us again.
Yeah, it's definitely not helped the formation we're playing, and from set pieces we still look like we haven't got a clue what we're doing. Like I said last week, but it looks like it's panic every time the ball comes into the box. So we do need to get a grip of that. I am wondering why he's playing 3 at the back, especially when one of them is not even a centre back. Coleman playing in the 3. It's not like he thinks he's got 3 good centre backs who he can play, and they're the 3 that are playing every week. So he obviously wants to play 3 at the back. The 2 signings we brought in so far indicate that maybe they're more wing backs than full backs. So maybe he's going to stick with it, but that's the negative for me is why he's sticking with the 3-5. Well, it's 5, isn't it? 5 at the back. Why he's doing it, and from set plays in the organisation doesn't look good enough. But overall, to go to Hull and come away with a victory, we've lost how many? Third round.
It was nervy, weren't it? We were going into this nervous. So you're right in what you're saying. The job's done.
Yeah. And then the first 20 minutes all boiled down the fact that they got a goal early, which was, was one of those things, and you could see the panic in the players' faces. You could see Benitez worrying on the sidelines. And then, as I say, once we got into the game and we got a foot in it, I didn't feel like it was ever a threat, to be honest. I know it went to extra time and stuff, but I always thought we'd be too strong for them.
Okay, 2 quick points, Bracey, before we move on to the Reds. Mikalenko, for me, I think Hull targets them in the first 15. A lot of crosses were coming in that side. He got better as the game went on. What was your opinion on his performance?
First performance, and he hasn't played for a while. I don't think you can judge him on that. A couple of good touches and a couple of stuff he looked rusty off. I mean, coming into his first game in England, he's, you'd expect him to be like that, wouldn't you? So I wouldn't judge him off the first performance.
Okay, and finally, the BBC picked up on it. It was tucked in the corner flag. It was very well positioned by whoever took this thing, but it was the Benitez "Get Out of Our Club" banner. We've seen similar things around the ground on a match day, and we've heard things, but that's the first time I think the mainstream media have showed something like that. No Evertonian is right or wrong. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. If some fans want to back the manager, that's great. If some fans want him out, then also fine. But is it too much to have banners like that for you in the away end, on especially when we're on BBC One? Or are these fans who feel that strong who've done this, are they justified by the season so far? Where are you?
Everyone's entitled to put a banner up if they want. They paid the money. They want to go away to hold it allowed. They can put the banner up if that's how the way they feel. I've got no issue with that. I personally wouldn't do it, but if someone's gone away to Hull on a Sunday night and wants to put a banner out and that's the way they feel, entitled to it just as much as anyone else. So fair enough to them if that's what they want to do. I mean, as you say, it's BBC and it's a bit, as a club, the media are on us anyway. From day one, the media are dying for it to go wrong. You can tell every single interview, every time we were mentioned, they just can't wait for it. So it doesn't help in that respect. But if that's the way people feel, that's how they feel, isn't it?
Fair enough. Couldn't have said it better myself, my friends. We have lots of social media questions on Everton later on, and I think myself and Pricey are going to talk a little bit more about our thoughts on where we currently are under the manager. But moving on to the Reds, we've took a lot of time up there on the Luca Dean and the whole game. Moving on to the Reds, also navigated through quite successfully the FA Cup third round with a 4-1 victory against Shrewsbury. What are your guys' assessments? Start with you, Terry. You were there. Was it a good game? Were Liverpool good?
I think good game's a bit of a stretch, even though there was 5 goals in it, and 4-1. You think we've done a proper number on them, but I'll be honest, it was a miserable game. It was one of them games where you're thinking, why have I dragged myself out for this on a Sunday afternoon? And to be honest, similar to you had a bad start, and it wasn't a great start from us. Obviously, conceding first and going a goal down, and it was one of them where you're like, and it probably started with a little bit of the team sheet, really. And I think we were expecting a mix of, some senior players, but quite a lot of rotation. I don't think I certainly wasn't quite expecting, as many of the kids to play as we actually saw. I'd been on the radio on the Saturday on our, affiliate station, Liverpool Live, and talked about, and I did say, expected a few senior, players in the side as well, because there's players there who need game time, like Minamino, Firmino, we might have to be calling on, whilst Salah and Mane are at the AFCON. So I was expecting a few more familiar names, but to see the lineup that we went with, and some of the names on there, I hadn't even seen. I knew nothing about them. These were kids who were completely sort of new to me. So we had a young lad called Waltman up front. We did a Katie Gordon. He started up front. Curtis Jones started in the Mane position. We had another youngster called Dixon Bonner in the middle, as well as Bradley and Morton playing, who we have seen a little bit of. So it really was an unfamiliar lineup. But once we conceded the goal and sort of got a foothold in the game, it never looked in doubt. There was very little in terms of chances created by Shrewsbury, to be honest. But in terms of the actual quality on display on the day, there wasn't a lot of it, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
Phil, 1-0 down. Phil, you're sitting there feeling the worst, or you're always quite confident that you're going to win the game?
Well, yeah, a little bit nervous with the lineup that we had out, the inexperience in the team. But I think the big thing, what you're saying there, Terry, about expecting a more experienced lineup, we were hit with a lot of positive COVID tests, so that we were limited. And the main thing is the strikers, when Minamino and Firmino starting on the bench. But I suppose there's 2 ways to look at that with the AFCON. You've got to make sure they're available for the league, haven't you? So, but you've got to get them up to speed.
Yeah.
As well. 2 schools of thought.
Yeah, and
with them on the bench,
is them coming in cold. You know, when we need them in league games. For me, you play them and take them off and bring the kids on, as opposed to the other way around. I've never quite understood that. To me, it's win the game and then take the players off, as opposed to bring them on to rescue it.
Just in case you get stuck having to leave them on, innit? That's the if that's not what you want to do, I suppose. But with them on the bench, though, I was always confident that we'd be able to come back, and I didn't think they'd score any more than one. I think, you know, the most experienced of the kids who were out is Tyler Morton. He's the one that we've seen the most of, and I think the question mark against him has been that his tackling's been a bit rash, hasn't it? He's put a few naughty ones in. But I think with Fabinho alongside him taking care of that side of things, Tyler Morton was able to play a bit more, and he kind of stood out. If anyone stood out, probably him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm saying that it was an unfamiliar lineup. There was a lot of kids in there. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't think there was a lot on the front three. I know Katie Gordon scored a great goal. You know, he very composed in the box when it came into him to basically, you know, get his yards and get his shot away and get his goal. But besides that, I mean, we'll talk about Curtis Jones in a minute, but I thought the front three was quite lacking, you know, in terms of cutting edge or really offering us anything. But certainly Morton in the middle, you know, he did have a good game. He's starting to, you know, show. He's very assured. And, you know, we've seen him have that one game against Spurs where he really struggled in the sort of fast pace of the Prem. But other games, I think he's looked really good in. And obviously against a side, you know, a League One side, he could show, you know, that he knows what he's doing. He's very calm and in possession. He's always showing and wanting the ball, which I think is a great sign for a youngster. So he had a good game. I thought Bradley had a good game as well, the fullback, you know, who we've asked to come in. I mean, he looks very keen to get forward, you know, and looks good and capable on the ball. I did think he struggled when we played against Leicester. His first touch was off in the first 2 minutes and it just played on his mind. But he was much better there against Shrewsbury, so I thought he had a good game as well. Yeah,
obviously the cross for the goal come from his side, but that happens to Trent, doesn't it? It's what Klopp expects of his right back. It's difficult to be 100%, you know, going forward and in defensively, but I thought he looked a lot better. He's got a long way to go
before he can put any pressure on. I think we've lost Phil, but before he can put any pressure on Trent's position, he has got a long way to go. You know, he's certainly showing that he's got talent, but I think, you know, it's going to be a long road before you can say you're really sort of comfortable to throw him in the big games. You know, is I think what Phil was probably going to say. But just looking at, like I mentioned there, you know, like the front three and particularly Curtis Jones, really disappointed. You know, I know it's not necessarily his favourite position. He was playing off that sort of left inside forward role, what Mane normally plays, and he'll probably see himself as a bit more of a centre mid. But against that level of opposition, you're expecting, you know, Curtis Jones, he's showing what he can do with the ball at his feet and stuff. You're expecting a bit more of him, and to be honest, I thought he was really, really disappointing. He's very, very slow. Every time he got the ball, he wanted like loads of touches. It was almost like he was trying to play with this nonchalance, you know, like sort of swagger, and it slowed us down so much. And it was almost to the point where you're getting frustrated with him, saying like, don't even pass it to him because he's killing all of the attack. So, you know, Curtis Jones got to be careful, I think, because I think he was starting to be seen as like a key part of this Liverpool squad, and you know, big things were expected of him. I'm just hoping that he hasn't sort of, you know, took that too much for granted, where he thinks that he can just sort of like, you know, do what he wants when he's in the side.
Curtis Jones.
Yeah, so
well, do you know what? It could be a good segue into the social media. Phil, I just jumped on this one because I know you jumped off. But the first message we got in was from someone called Gary Moore. He's obviously a Liverpool fan. He was at the game, and he's asking you, Terry, and you, Phil, in the young lads who played yesterday. He says, Morton aside, the young lads didn't stand out against the League Two side, and he includes Curtis Jones in that as well.
I think as I say, it's a fair point on Jones. You know, I didn't think he stood out, and I'd be expecting much better from him, you know, against that level of opposition. And so it was disappointing to see. I think it's maybe slightly unfair, you know, to sort of say that the other young lads, you know, they didn't
stand out, Terry.
Like they didn't, they're also nowhere near the first team. Some of them, you know what I mean? They were a needs must. So the ones who were on the cusp of, you know, who were getting opportunities in the first team, are the ones that are on the cusp of it. I think they give a good account of themselves. Morton, you know, Bradley.
Yeah.
Even Katie Gordon took his goal well, but again, he how old is he? He's like, I think he's 18.
Yeah,
17, 18. It's like, these aren't players that Liverpool are going to be relying on. I don't think, you know, in the next couple of, even probably the next season or two. So, you know, it's good to see them, but I wouldn't say I'm worried. And I think there is talent in them youth ranks, you know, at Liverpool. And as I say,
Harvey Elliott.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, the ones that I think we would ask, and Kelleher, I think it looks like a good prospect in goal. So the ones I think that we would ask to step up to the side, they've generally gave a good account of themselves. So I think.
I was going to say earlier, Terry, I could imagine Morton to get game time like soon, because when you lose the likes of it, Thiago or Henderson, Fabinho, we tend to replace that with an attacking player like Ox or Keita or something. It's not quite changes the whole fit. Whereas Morton could be more like for like, couldn't he? And I could imagine him getting minutes in the near future.
Yeah, I think you know, I think I've talked about it in the podcast, haven't I? Like, we're such a system side, and as you say, when we lose one part of that midfield, generally it means that we'll sort of take like Henderson from a more attacking role that he's been in and drop him into a more defensive role, and then we have to throw an attack. So we're rejigging multiple positions because we've lost one player. So I think you're right. You know, having someone who can maybe just come in and sort of be a genuine replacement for one of the sort of holders is useful to have. And I think he's given a good account of himself. He's obviously still very young, but he looks like he has got talent. He needs to bulk up though, because he's built like a pipe cleaner.
That is one thing.
Successful weekend then, all in all. Just saying, both teams into the fourth round, and some draws that, you know, were not stupid, but they're not the worst draws in the world, are they? So positive weekend on the pitch. Phil, I did jump in there because someone turned your shower on, so I have to do the first social media question. But I know we got hammered, didn't we? And there's a variety of questions this week, which I think you're going to give us some of the best of.
Yeah, okay. So we have a fun question in from Anthony Power first. Some quick fire questions he's got for us. So it takes a bit of thinking about this, though, to be fair. He said, change one moment from your club's history. What would it be? Result, buy or selling a player. Could be one. Any moment that you'd change.
You've got an obvious one.
Not paying the rent. if we pay the rent, then none of this happens. You two are wearing blue. There's one club in the city. It's the mighty Everton Football Club. For me, if you look back, and I suppose there's lots of tongue-in-cheek ones you can do like that, but maybe pricey. I think some people look at the 80s, maybe Howard Kendall leaving.
I'd say Everton not getting into Europe, not being able to play in Europe is probably the biggest thing. I know it's before our time slightly, but when you hear that team talking and you know, you speak to, you know, my arm fella and my uncles and that's a massive one. Was not getting into Europe there for that season.
Definitely.
I'm going to be selfish.
Maybe lads in Europe, should I say, not getting in Europe. You know what I mean.
Oh, you've opened Pandora's box there. Let the comments are going to be flying tonight.
I'm going to pick a selfish one, and it benefits me more than it benefits Liverpool Football Club. But 96 FA Cup final, we go and win that game. Cantona doesn't score that late goal, because the reason I'm picking that, Teddy, is because as a young lad, that broke my heart. I would have loved to have seen me first sort of proper silverware. You could look at the Brendan Rodgers era and change one of them games, which means we probably get over the line. You could look even at the Klopp era and the Man City when we were very, very close to them, and change one of the results. But the Brendan Rodgers one, if he goes on to win the league, we don't get Klopp. So it's difficult. You could go back and say Michael Thomas, you know, in 89, 90, but I wouldn't have remembered that personally. So I'm going to go with the FA Cup final 96.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tough one, isn't it, to pick a moment, and it's all, if that had happened, then this wouldn't have happened, and this and blah, blah, blah. So it is really tough, because obviously we've had great times now, you know, under Klopp. I mean, for me, one that really sort of annoyed me was, I think it was 2009, wasn't it, when we were putting the pressure on Man U to win the league under Benitez. And do you remember that Man U just managed to get that result where that Federico Makeda scored that goal and basically just killed us with we were going to win that league. You know what I mean? Under Benitez.
Yeah,
he would have been a league winning manager as well as a Champions League winning manager at Liverpool, just to rub that in for the Blues. But obviously, that Makeda scored. I think I'm trying to remember what game it was. I think they were playing possibly Villa, and he scored.
I think it was Villa. It was Villa at Old Trafford, when he turned and knocked it in the top corner.
It was just like, that's just killed us. That, you know what I mean? And that was a moment where it would have been, we'd seen Liverpool win a Champions League and get to another Champions League final in Athens, and then we'd won domestic trebles in the early part of the 2000s, and to sort of get that league title at that point would have been boss, in under Rafa. But so that's one. There's a couple of others, as you said, Phil. You know what I mean? There's other ones that you can point at, but that was one that I remember just feeling like horrible. And I would have liked us to have won it at that period there under Benitez. But
okay, another question that Anthony asks is, how much money to support the other side of the park? Terry, I'll come to you first. Is there an amount of money?
Nah, I value my happiness well too high. I'm not sure that there'd be a sum that could make me go through what these have to go through every week.
Yeah, I'll second that. All my mates, a lot of my best memories in life comes from supporting Liverpool. So, yeah, I don't think there's much. I mean, you're talking $1 billion, aren't you? That type of money.
Talking big money, right?
I don't think you're going to get anyone saying that they'll take some money to move over, are you?
Millsy would.
I'll tell you what, mate. It's look, I think Pricey might agree with this. I think you've got to be a certain person to support Everton. There's that saying that you're chosen, you don't choose. You certainly wouldn't grow up and choose to support Everton Football Club. You've got to be it's a special thing to be an Evertonian. As much as we go through blue misery sometimes, I wouldn't change being an Evertonian for the world. It's no amount of money would make me be a Red. I think the clubs, despite us all being friends on our podcast doing this, I think there's a very big difference in Reds and Blues, isn't there? And I'm content where I am.
Okay. Pricey, City or United?
In what context?
Just pick one. You can apply your own.
I go City. City, because City feels more like, I know they've got the money and stuff, but they feel more like Everton, like the type of fans there. The old main road, I went there before. It was a bit more like Goodison. You just feel they're a bit more like Evertonians. They've been downtrodden, haven't they? They've had upsets. They've experienced going down, which obviously we haven't done. But we just feel like I've got a bit more of an affinity with City fans, the older City fans, maybe not the new City fans who have started supporting them just because they're successful, but the old hardcore City fans feels more like Everton. And Man United just feel like, well, I don't think anyone likes Man United, do they?
Yeah, it might be quicker for me to, rather than go around everyone. Is there anyone taking United over City? No, not even close. Right, I found this a bit of a strange question. The best sauce for your full English, but I wouldn't have sauce on full English. I'm thinking roasting, actually, yeah. Brown sauce all day, isn't it?
I wouldn't have sauce either. I wouldn't have sauce on a full English.
No,
let the beans do the work.
Yeah, a lot of beans, yeah.
And tomatoes.
Brown sauce on bacon?
On a bacon on, but not with a full English, because you've got a yolky egg, haven't you? You've got beans or tomatoes to sort of get that bit of sauce. No need for any sauce on there.
Terry, would you send the wife back in the kitchen if she dished up a full English with red sauce on it? Or would you take it?
Well, I reckon I'd take hers and she can have the one with red sauce on it.
Oh, God. Best ever song is the last question from Anthony. That's hard on the spot, isn't it?
Well, we see the question today, didn't we, come in? So I actually thought a little bit about it. There is that many. I don't know. Some songs can mean certain things to certain people. Some songs are just an absolute anthem that you'll walk into a party and miss the bar because it's on straight to the dance floor. You know what I mean? There's certain songs. Rain and Men, Phil, that'll get you up every time. Come On Eileen is another one. Do you know what song I've always loved? It's a brilliant tune. I've always loved Let It Be by the Beatles.
Good song, yeah. I can't answer it, to be honest. There's too many songs, so it's too difficult one to answer that.
Yeah, I haven't got one.
Same. Anything by Oasis, like I'm always loving, but I haven't got a favourite song. Like you say, it depends on your mood and the day and everything, doesn't it?
Do you know what? Talking about Manchester and Liverpool, I've never been able to get over that with Oasis. You know, I've just never been able to accept their two Mancs. And
you're missing out. You're missing out, my friend.
Okay. Benitez, this is from Toffee Dean, I think on Twitter, and he said, Benitez is not leaving, no point dwelling on that one, but if Mina, Richie and DCL return, are we a winning side?
Rules?
We're a stronger side, but I don't think it's been about the individuals this season. I think it's been about me personally. I think it's been about the manager setting us up wrong week after week. I think we had a decent start to the season where we got a great result at Brighton. We then beat Burnley, Norwich, and we beat Arsenal, who will get beat constantly up and down the season. I don't think the individuals, obviously the individuals will make us better. Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Yerry Mina coming back into the side particularly will make us stronger. I don't think you can call it a winning side. I don't think it's about the players. Pricey, you might disagree.
No, as I was saying before, on the Luca Dean point, that I think we need the squad to regenerate itself and get rid of a few players, bring a few in. I'd love to be at the training ground and see what the atmosphere is like, because I think as a club, it feels like there's just a bad atmosphere hanging over the club. I think that's going to take a while to get rid of. I don't think that's Benitez's fault. I think the fact that we got rid of Brands and, you know, Denise is going at the end of the season and stuff like that, I think that's all got something to do with it. So I don't think a player coming back from injury is going to fix anything like that. I think it's going to take a while to get a winning side on the pitch.
Okay, one from Nick Morris, which you can answer this one quite quick, lads, because I think you've already basically answered it. But thoughts on the car crash press conference on Friday? Digne and Reid being called out by the manager wrong in Nick's view. He's interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm not into that. I'm not into it. I think keep it behind closed doors, whether it's Luca Dean. And calling out Peter Reid was just, I didn't understand it at all. It's just proper random thing to do. I'm not into it at all whatsoever.
No, it was the context of it as well, because he called out Peter Reid during the rant over Luca Dean, which arguably knocked some money off the transfer fee we'll receive. But Peter Reid had not tweeted about Luca Dean. He just said he was very worried about the direction of the football club. So I think the manager, I don't know whether he'd done this on purpose, but he sort of linked the two when they were never linked. I'd never seen Peter Reid mention Luca Dean in his tweet. His tweet was, and I think Peter Reid, do you know what? It was silly because it's Peter Reid, and I'd never seen Peter Reid play. He just missed him, but from what I understand, was an absolute fan's favourite. Why would you pick that battle? Why would you name him? Why don't just keep it at former players? Keep it at supporters. Don't name check Peter Reid because you put a rug for your own back. And I tell you what, if we'd have got beat or we were getting beat on Saturday with no route back in the game, Peter Reid as an Evertonian would have been the song from some away fans there on Saturday. It was silly, and that adds to it for me. That adds to why we're not matched. But I just think it was.
Yeah, regardless of what you think about Benitez, he's not doing himself any favours by doing stuff like that. He's just really not. It was just, I watched it, I read it, and then I thought, no, I'm gonna have to watch it to see what the context was, and I was like, it was baffling. There was just no reason for it at all.
No.
I think managers they are often insecure of former players and fans' favourites, aren't they? Because I think they think they've got a lot of sway with the support base. And
if you're coming into a club, Phil, the way Benitez has come into a club, you get them on side. That's what you do, and you can't go if you're pitting yourself against an Everton legend. You're not winning. Whether it's Benitez or whether it's any other manager coming in, it's not going to happen.
Okay. Just wants the payoff, doesn't he? Rafa done his job. Wants paying off now.
Question from Rob. I'll never stop supporting Everton, but I haven't enjoyed it at all since Benitez come in. It's a negative cloud over my club. He's falling out with players, conducting himself like a spoiled child in public, and us fans are fighting amongst ourselves because of him. How do we feel about Benitez and Everton?
I think this is probably the time me and Placey might have a not so much of a debate, because I think we're more or less on the same lines. Placey was on the show last week with Judgy, and he was very public in saying that he was he was nearing the point of thinking it's not working. Obviously, we've got a great results. We're doing what seems to be good business now in offloading, on paper anyway, offloading players and bringing younger players in. I'm more with the listener or the viewer. I'm not really enjoying it. If you watch our instant match reactions, excuse me, I've said a few times that I think the grounds is not a nice place to be in on a match day. And I've been there before with this team, but I've never felt it like this. I've seen the ground with this team. I've seen it under a couple of managers. It feels to me like the end of the Roberto Martinez era, where fans were staying behind and protesting and getting helicopters. They felt so strongly over it. I'm not really enjoying. I mean, if I didn't do Across the Park podcast and I didn't do other things and I didn't have, I've said this on the Mike and Millsy show, if I didn't have my little boy who's nearly 4 getting into the game, I don't know whether I'd be at every game this season. I think it was such a controversial appointment that it had to go right. It was like putting your last bit of money on the roulette table and you're praying for it to go right. It was a gamble, a massive gamble, and it divided the fan base straight away. And in hindsight, looking back, it should never have happened. He's here now. I want Everton Football Club to win games. I want us to, like I said before, I want to be taking selfies with Pricey on Wembley Way, doing live shows for our podcast, winning the FA Cup. I want that more than anything. But I am a little bit disconnected with the football club at the minute, I can't lie.
I'm not enjoying it either, but I haven't enjoyed it for ages. I mean, I think that what we had at the end of last season, the second half of last season, the fans weren't in the ground. Some of them performances that we, we carried out at the end of last season, for want of a better phrase, is they would have got booed by the fans because they were awful. So it definitely did. Bringing in Benitez definitely divided the fan base. And before he came in, I said I wasn't for it. There was just no need to appoint him. I think there was other people that could have come in and done the job and whatever else. But I don't see the point in getting rid of him either. He's in there now. The club's a mess. It's not just the players on the pitch. The club's a mess, and it looks. You can tell it's a mess because of, as I say, Brand's going. Denise Baxendale leaving at the end of the season. It's in a bit of turmoil apart from the ground. If the ground weren't there, everyone would be turning on Mashiri a lot more than what they're doing now at the minute. Benitez is just the scapegoat for what's going wrong. And yet on the pitch isn't great, but it hasn't been great for ages. It's going to take more than 4 months of a season to get those players playing and to bring in your new players that you want to bring in order to improve the squad. It looks like we've got a bit of a strategy going at the minute. We've done a review of the club, or the review's in process or whatever. Looks like we've done a review of it. We're bringing in 2 young players under Benitez's watch. We're not doing that because we're getting rid of Benitez. We're doing it because we're backing Benitez to bring it. So the fact that we're doing that, we've got to stick by him, and we've got to see how it plays out for at least another one transfer window, at least till this time next season. We've got to see how it transpires. It's no good just saying get rid, because the next manager is just going to find the same problems again, and then we're going to be on to the next manager. Why have we brought in a young manager? We need experienced man. It's just going to go round in circles and circles until you back someone. Looks like they're backing Benitez, so fair enough. Stick with Benitez, but you have to back someone. Mashiri has to put his name, like you said, it's his last role, but he has to stick to it. If that's the role he's taking, he's got to stick to it and back his horse and see how he gets on. So that's where I'm at with it.
Do you think he'll be here next season? Do you think that Do you think that Everton will have a strong enough second half of the season that he will not be under that much pressure?
I think this season's written off. I think Mashiri's written. He's not open for Europe this season. I think this season's a building block, and next season he wants to go at it again. This season, if we finish 9th or we finish 13th, I don't think he's going to go either way. Mashiri's not interested in that, as far as I can tell. What he wants is to bring him in, and he's going to see the changes happen. He's chopped and changed that many times with managers. And what's it brought? It's brought £500 million worth of spend. Might as well just throw it down the drain because he brought in a load of crap. He's definitely putting his money. This is what I think. He could get sacked next week, but I think he's putting his money on Benitez, and he's saying, "No, let's see how it transpires. Let's give him a couple of transfer windows and see if we can change it around." And as I say, if he's doing that with Benitez, whoever it might have been, but he's just chosen to be Benitez, so you're gonna have to give him a chance.
Matthew Mills.
Really, it's looking that way, isn't it? I'm on record. I'm not a big fan of this manager at all, and a lot of it
This isn't me saying I'm a big Benitez fan and I want to keep him. What I'm saying is we need some stability, and if that's who he's backed, if that's who the owner's backing, then let him back him and let him see how he gets on. At least then a year down the line, if it hasn't worked, you can say, no, he did back him and it didn't work. It's no good chopping and changing.
No, but the question that's come in was about the enjoyment of it. And for me, a lot of enjoyment, well, in fact, scratch that, all of the enjoyment of being a football fan is your connection to that club, that you can watch them get beat and return the next week because the connection is there. And I've got to be honest, it's waning this season for me, and he's a massive part of it. Am I that bitter that a lot of it is because he's a Red? Absolutely I am. It does affect my decision. But I would also be saying this about any other manager who had Everton set up this way. And I agree with what you've said on this podcast a number of times. The players aren't good enough, but the players were playing to a certain way last season. The Reds are laughing now because of how good we had it last season. We were singing Spirit of the Blues in Champions League.
Yeah, but that was only until February.
Players.
That was only until February. Well,
so three quarters of the season, we were in Champions League places.
Yeah, and then he dropped off because they weren't good enough. You can't say, the players. Well, so are we a top 4 team? Are you with the squad?
No, I don't think we are. I think this manager can do a lot better than what he's doing at 100%. And I'm turning up at Goodison week after week with no faith that he's going to do it. And I also look at him and don't really want him there as well on top. That's just me. I don't speak for the entire fan base, and neither does Pricey. And I think what me and Pricey have just done is probably reminiscent of what's happening at the ground. I mean, there's talk of sit-ins and more protests. Will 40,000 do that? Absolutely not. There is a divide, but I am up to there with it. And I'll tell you he's a big part of it for me. He just is.
What a job this manager is doing for a Liverpool fan.
The divide is a disappointing thing because it's definitely divided the fan base, but it's not Benitez. It's Mashiri's choice that's divided the fan base.
Yes,
remember, not Benitez.
Right. Yeah, you're
but
right.
As I say, if the stadium weren't getting built, a lot of people would be on at Mashiri a lot more than what they are now. He's made the choice to bring him in. He's divided it, not Benitez. And I'm not a big fan of Benitez, don't get me wrong. I'm not happy we've got him or anything like that, but I'm just looking at it realistically and saying it's not his fault. He's been put in there to do a job. He's having a go as far as I can tell. Yeah, we could maybe be further up the league. But this season, I said it at the very start of the season before the ball was kicked, we just need to get through this season.
You still won't call him Rafa though, will you, Pricey?
No. That was enough for Phil, that. He's off.
I'll put him back in. He's knocked himself out, the dope.
We'll move on then to the next question. This is from Lee Watson. He says, hello to you all. First time writing in, so hello, Lee, and thank you for writing in. He said, are you on the show going to address the vile songs and videos from the away fans yesterday regarding the 97? He was disgusted. He said, they should be banned from having supporters at their next game or be made to return the revenue that they made yesterday. Maybe then these vile idiots will think again. That was the first part of his question. The other part is, did you catch Anne, the programme Anne on BBC, and have you got any thoughts on that? But just to put context to it, Terry, I don't think you've seen the video, have you? I think there was just like about 30 fans or so walking down the side of the Adelphi, I think it was, just singing F the 96. They were singing, so...
Yeah.
What possesses you to do that? What is going on? Grown men.
It's nuts, isn't it? I mean, I haven't seen the video. I read the report about it, and I've seen that some of the actual Shrewsbury players have came out and basically condemned them, their own fans for doing it. It's like, and basically said, you've got no place, and some of the supporter groups as well have came out and said, you've got no place as a Shrewsbury fan doing stuff like that. So, it's sad, isn't it, that some football fans still think that that's an acceptable way to sort of like mock the team you're playing. It's all well and good banter and all that, like having banter with, opposing fans and stuff like that. But there's a line, and that's just far beyond it. It's just dark, and to be honest, it's just they shouldn't even be getting any airtime for them. Some of them will probably be reveling in it. That they're sort of like infamous for doing it. It's just absolute nuggets.
It's stupid as well because they don't know who is around the city centre at that time and what can happen to them. It's just even that part of it.
It would have left you thinking you'd have had to do something, wouldn't you? How could you walk past that and not do something?
Yeah, it's just absolutely shocking behaviour. And I hope that their own fans, and next time at the game, if they know any of them, the mates and all that, just leg them and say, do one. Like,
I'm sure they will. It's usually a minority, isn't it? I'm sure they'll be held up to it when they're next at the ground. I hope so anyway, because it's just not welcome anywhere near the city or football or in life in general, really.
No,
Terry,
I mean, sorry, I was going to say, like, the point that the person who wrote in with the question said about like banning their fans and stuff. I don't think it's fair, because it's not. It wasn't their whole fan base, was it? There was a lot of fans there yesterday, and most of them were there in good spirits and with the right intentions. So I don't think it's really fair to punish the club for basically a handful of absolute idiots.
Possibly if it was inside the ground, though, there'd be more.
I don't think it was it? The videos I've seen, I think I'm with Terry. I think that the listener or the viewer said about maybe Shrewsbury foregoing their revenue. I don't think that helps. Excuse me. I think what probably needs to happen is it needs to go down the route of you identify them and you ban them from every single football ground in the country.
Yeah. Self-policing amongst their own fan base, isn't it?
Yeah. Terry, have you seen the programme, Anne? Have you had the chance to catch it?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's pretty moving, isn't it? Like when you watch it, and obviously we all know the story, and it's sad. Obviously the entire thing's sad to talk about, but obviously her story and her fight. Watch the documentary afterwards as well. The real Anne, I think it was called, the documentary, or there was like a program on afterwards. But it is really sort of profound and still emotional to this day, isn't it? When you sort of watch it and you see what the families went through and how much they had to be strong and fight against the authorities, and it's a really good program. And it's sad sometimes when you watch these like dramas, because you think like, in a way, the drama you're watching is like a dramatization of a tragic event, and it's in a way it's entertainment that's on the telly, but it's important as well, isn't it, that people who maybe aren't aware of the story or things get basically exposed to it and know what actually the families have to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Mills, well, that concludes the social media this week.
Okay, I think Phil does a great job every week picking the best questions out. We can't always get to them all. We were flooded again on the Twitter, which is @AcrossTheParkPC, the Instagram inbox as well, @AcrossTheParkPC. Phil is old enough to keep us on Facebook as well, so we got some messages on Facebook, and Phil always does a great job. If you haven't had your question read out, I mean, we'll try and respond to it on the inbox or the website as well. Moving very quickly on, we'll try and breeze through these to keep the show under an hour. We've got games coming up this week. I know you guys, the Reds, previewed what you thought would be, was it the away leg last week, and it's now switched to the home leg. Are your views any different going into the semi-final against Arsenal than they were last week?
Well, I mean, last week it was a different kettle of fish, wasn't it? Because we didn't know who we had available in terms of COVID and what the injury situation was and stuff like that. By all accounts, going into this game on Thursday, we're going to have pretty much a full side to pick from, minus Keita, Salah, and Mane, who are at the AFCON, and possibly Trent, who we're still not sure whether he's positive or not for COVID. So, I think, looking at that now, and as I say, given that we haven't played any of the main players for probably getting over a week now, they need to play. For me, it's a semi-final, first leg, very winnable game. At home, against an Arsenal team that we've already beaten this season comfortably. So we should be going into this very strong, I think, and basically winning this tie in the first leg if possible. I'm putting this Liverpool team into a League Cup final.
I'm a bit worried about it, Terry. I think a Liverpool side without Mane, Salah and Trent is severely weakened. I think Arsenal, on the day, they outplayed City the other week. The hot and cold, you never know what Arsenal you're going to get, but I imagine they'll be up for a semi-final. That's their best chance of probably silverware for a little while. So I'm a bit nervous. And having the away leg first and then bringing them back to Anfield, I predicted 1-1 at their place, and we'd probably get it done at home. This way round, while we're short of them 3 players, I'm a bit nervous. But to be fair, I'm still going to predict a draw in the first leg, so we're going to have to win away. That means.
Nah, at Anfield, I know what you're saying. Obviously, any team have missed Salah, Mane and Trent, but I still think that what we've got coming in behind that is,
Well, Origi's not fit either, is he? So who is coming in behind that for you?
Well, Is Origi definitely out though? He obviously wasn't on the bench there at the weekend.
I think so, yeah.
I thought he was back, but
okay.
You've still got Jota, Firmino, Minamino. I think as a front three should be sufficient. I don't look at Arsenal and think that there's some like boss side. I know they had a good game against City, but you know what I mean. It's like they've also, as you say, they're a sort of Jekyll and Hyde side, aren't they? And even when they're at the best, they're not great. They're okay. So I think Firmino, Jota, and Minamino or Origi should be sufficient, in terms of firepower to get the goals against Arsenal. Obviously, Trent's a big miss on that right-hand side. It'd be interesting to see what we do, whether we basically go with one of the youngsters or whether we put maybe a Robertson on the right and put Tsimikas in as a left-back or what. I'm not quite sure, but...
I can see it being Milner.
Maybe Milner, yeah. But other than that, I still think we'll have enough, if I'm honest. Okay. I'm still predicting a win for Liverpool, 2-1.
Okay, I'm going to say 1-1 for some reason, just in my gut. I hope I'm wrong.
And your next league game at the weekend, I think you welcome Brentford to Anfield. We always say when we do previews with 2 games in the week, it's really tough. That's coupled with the way the world is now with games and players and things. But you must be confident, even without Mane and Salah, of beating Brentford. I know they give you a game down in London at the start of the season, but that's surely a game that you've got to go and win.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we didn't take all 3 points against them when we went away. Obviously, they were new to the league, and it was, they're playing Liverpool. They were up for it. I wouldn't say their results have been great since. Very middle of the road, and I think they are sort of mid-table, around 12th, 13th at the moment.
12th on 23 points and 12th.
Yeah, so we struggled with the lad that they've got up front at their place, but as you say there, I still think we should have enough to take all 3 points at Anfield against Brentford. I'm not looking at that as a real sort of worry or a test. You know what you're getting. They're a good footballing side, and they like to attack, but you should have more than enough, I think, for them. Any thoughts, Phil?
Similar to Arsenal for me. On the day they play good football, they play the game in the right way. They've hurt us before. I think it's good that we've played them once already. We sort of know a bit more what we're in for and can plan for it a bit better. So don't expect lightning to strike twice. But again, without Mane, Salah and Trent, I think we're severely weakened. So I just hope that the lads who are coming in cold can be up to speed. They're going to have to be. That's the thing, Terry. I think if they're not clicking and they're looking rusty, that's when you can be in trouble in this league against teams who play good football. So you've got to come in for me, and you've got to be ready to play close to the best ability. And if they do that, we'll win. But
I guess the flip side of it is without Mane and Salah there and Trent is our very, very rigid patterns of play, the way that we attack, with Trent and the way Salah and Mane play, that's different now as well. So teams have got to be thinking, what might we do differently? We're not probably going to play the exact same way that we do normally. So we've got a bit of a wild card about us as well, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. Makes it even more interesting to watch, just to see. Because it's very rare that we employ a plan B, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But
so give some predictions just to end that section, or
I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool.
I'll say 2-1 Liverpool.
Okay, and Pricey, we'll just end the show on a quick preview for Everton going into an away game against bottom of the league, who are 3 points off 17th. What can go wrong, my friends?
I'm just looking. Norwich of last 5 league games, they've scored none, conceded 14. And they're definitely going down, aren't they? I think they've been nailed on from day one that they're going down. But that scares me, the fact that they haven't scored 5 and they conceded 14. But in all seriousness, I think we should have too much for Norwich. I think they're the one team who I've watched a bit of them actually, and the one team that I just think have got nothing going forward at all. I think they're a really poor side. I think we'd be struggling if we didn't beat them away. I know it's away, but I think we got to be beating Norwich. Even at home, we didn't play particularly well. We beat them 2-0. So wasn't it 2-0? Sorry. Remember, it was 2-0, wasn't it? Penalty, yeah. So, I think we'll have too much for Norwich. Surely to God. Do you think so?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking at Norwich and they've conceded. Well, the goal difference is minus 34, and we're halfway through the season. They're not a very good team. They've only won twice. They haven't scored in the last 5. But enter Everton. I've seen it so many times. Look, I expect Everton to win the game on Saturday. Of course, I do. I think Everton are a better team than Norwich. They're one of the teams I've seen this season that we've played who aren't very good. They didn't give us any sort of game at goodness, and they weren't in it at all. I don't think they've done much in the window already. I could be wrong there. I don't know how the whales of COVID-19 positive and negative is affecting them. I imagine it's affecting them as much as anybody. So what I would say is I imagine it's a game that they're only 3 points off 17th. I imagine it's a game that their manager and their fans are looking at and going, this is one that we can win.
You're still on Mills,
Might come back on there, sorry. Yeah, I imagine it's one of those. We're one of those teams, aren't we, at the minute that any team would like to play. So it is dangerous, but I'm with you. I think we're better, and we should win that game. I'll probably go 1-0 to Everton.
Yeah, I'll go 2-0. I think we'll beat them. We'll have too much for Norwich.
I think Pookie's going to cause you problems.
You don't do predictions. We left you alone. Don't start putting the feet in on us.
Billy Gilmore too.
All right, you go away. I'm going to remove you from the stream in a minute. I'm negative enough without you giving me Pookie 1-0 and Gilmore 2-0. We are just over an hour. We always try and get to an hour on our Across the Park Monday shows. So thank you for sticking with us, whether you're on your favourite podcast app, on the commute or in the gym, or you're watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much. If you are on YouTube, please give us a subscribe. And if you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, share it to your friends. That the more, the better. Thank you to our amazing sponsors, Camper Kings UK. Thank you to Veer Clothing. On our next episode on Thursday, which is Game On, we are going to be talking a lot more about our great affiliate to a BetMate, what you can do this weekend to play along. But from myself, Ian Mills, Andrew Price, Phil Roberts and Terry McGiven, thank you so much for joining us on the Across the Park podcast. We will see you again this Thursday.